All right, hi, I'm Jill Baldwin. I'm from the Utah State Board of Education, and I work with the statewide online education program. And this training is something that is being done all over the state to help educate you about the program. So first thing, I have a QR code that will take you to a Google form. It's a worksheet that you can complete during this presentation, and it will earn an hour of licensure credit for you. I'll send you a certificate after this is over. So I'll give you a moment to open up that sheet and get the top information filled out. And actually, a lot of you are at computers, so I should probably give you the link in the chat too. 1 second. All right, there's the link in the chat as well to that form. Every slide that has an answer to one of the questions on the form will have that little pink star on it, and I'll try to point it out as we go through as well to help you get those answers. And it's okay if they're not totally correct. It's just, for fun to earn a licensure hour for being here. All right. So let's talk about the statewide online education program. This program was developed in 2011 by the legislature as an opportunity for students to take some of their courses in an online setting while still being enrolled in their in-person school. The program is for 6th graders through 12th graders, and it serves students all over the state of Utah. The program is the SOEP, which it's often confused with our online application system, which is called SEEPS. We also get confused with SEOP, which was the old CCRP plan, but we're really trying to nail down that it's SOEP is our program. Throughout the last legislative session, a bill was passed and a number of changes came to the system. So if you're familiar with SOEP, these changes might be noteworthy to you. The first one is that it was updated from 9 days to 3 business days for approval of courses. It used to be that a student would register for a course and then 9 business days would go by before all of the approvals took place and they actually got in their course. And 9 business days is a lot of time. We were able to shorten that to 3 business days. It shortens the time for everyone to have approvals on every end, which is a tight turnaround for some of us, but it's really good for our students because it gets them in those classes faster. The second thing that came out of that legislative bill was a mandated training for school staff, and that's what we're doing right now. There was also a dashboard development that was put into place. By January 2026, USBE is supposed to provide a dashboard to you all so that you can track what your students are doing in their online schools. And that work is in progress right now. The process for sharing IEPs and 504s has been refined and really nailed down to who's responsible to make sure that those documents get transferred. And I'll go over that in a minute. We were also able to hire 2 more specialists in our office that will be going around the state, just like I am, doing some training. And the addition of concurrent enrollment courses in the SOEP is currently underway. We have until November to study any barriers of why we haven't been able to offer concurrent enrollment through our program so far. And hopefully those classes will be offered starting in July. So who benefits from SOEP participation? I'm sure you can think of some situations yourself. I've been in online education since 2011, and these are just some ones that I've come across. Some students want to graduate early, and they want to take classes over the summer or take more than the normal amount of classes to get ahead. Sometimes students are in sports or activities that involve a lot of travel, and they miss a lot of school, and they'd rather take their course online than miss that seat time. Some students take care of their families. Some of them work jobs and are babysit their younger siblings so their parents can both work. And this gives them the opportunity to take some classes online while doing that. Sometimes we have students that need to prioritize a medical situation or a mental health situation and taking a break from being at an in-person school, but they still want to keep up their studies, and this allows them to do that. And the last one that we see a lot is some of our smaller schools aren't able to offer every course that every student wants to take. So maybe your school doesn't have Chinese 3, but a student can take that course through our program. We have a new and improved website. The front page for students and parents has better materials than it has in the past. There's more information to help them navigate how to get started in the program. This is something that came out of listening to counselors because we've heard that that's one of the biggest lifts, is helping parents and students just figure out how to navigate the program. So we've been working hard at our office to improve our materials. So here's a starred slide. How do students register for SOEP courses? There's 3 steps to the process. The first is to create an account on the SEATS website. The second is to use that account to find the courses at the online schools that they want to take. And the third step is to go to the online school's website and complete an enrollment application there. That third step is the one that almost always gets forgotten. And so any help that you can provide with your students to help get them through that step is really helpful, because that's what we're really pushing at our level as well. So those are the 3 steps. That's one of the questions on the worksheet. We also have a brand new Counselor Resource Center page. This had just rolled out in the last few weeks. This is a place for you as counselors to find answers to your frequent questions about this program. There's a handbook with all of the things that you need to know. There's how to create your own account, how to accept courses when students create an account. There's also some flyers that you can use with your parents and students. There's a list of the hundreds of courses that are offered through this program, and eventually this training will be on there as a recorded training as well. So what's your role as a counselor in the SOEP? You actually have quite a few things that we're hoping that you'll help your students do. And the first one is to check that the courses that the students have chosen actually match their graduation plan. We don't want to see a 6th grader taking calculus when they're not ready, or somebody retaking a course they've already taken because they picked the wrong one. So we're hoping counselors will have a second set of eyes on courses that are chosen. It's also on the counselor to accept or reject the course that was chosen by the student. And so when you're checking that plan, if you're like, yeah, this course matches their plan, then you can accept that class. And if it doesn't, then you can reject that class, so the student isn't wasting their time taking the wrong course. If a student has a fee waiver, and only if the student has a fee waiver, it's also the school's responsibility to provide the technology and internet to take the online classes. And the last one is that counselors will need to help provide the online school with IEP 504 or ML paperwork. And I'm going to talk about that more in just a second. I understand that counselors aren't always the ones that hold that paperwork, but that's the only in that we have at all of our schools to help create this communication. So we're hoping that you'll be able to step in and help. So students with an IEP, a 504, or a multilingual plan, that plan needs to be shared with the online school as soon as possible. And that's so that that online school can provide all the same accommodations that you're able to offer at your in-person schools. Just looking at the chat, the technology and internet piece is new to me. Who pays for the tech should it be built in at the district level? So Mindy, just to reiterate, it's only for fee waiver students. So it's probably not something that has come up very often. So that's probably why you weren't aware of that. And that would be a district level type of thing, yes. How do we address providers who enroll students in a course after it's been rejected by the LEA? Oh, well, Lindsay, that shouldn't happen. If you're rejecting it, they shouldn't be enrolling it. That's something that our office can definitely handle for you. So my information's at the end. You're always welcome to email me about those situations, and I can help you take care of that. So back to the IEP 504 and ML plan, our online schools are very equipped with amazing accommodations, but they just need to know what accommodations need to be put into place. And this has been kind of a hiccup in this program for a while. And the dashboard that I mentioned is in progress, is hoping to address this. It's going to create a portal that makes it easy to transfer that paperwork. But for right now, it's on counselors to get that paperwork transferred to the online school. So how do counselors approve SOEP courses? You'll receive an email from SEATS every time a student registers for a course, and then you'll need to log into your SEATS account and choose to accept or reject the course. I have information on our counselor webpage about how to set up your SEATS account, and also a training on how to go in and approve or reject those courses. So you'll want to check that out at the end here. Districts also have the opportunity to accept or reject those courses. So Lindsay, that actually might be part of what happened. If you've rejected it, but someone at the district level has accepted it, that could be why it still went through. So every district should have someone that's labeled as the primary approver, and that person is the last line at the district side to decide if that student can take the class or not. At a charter school, it's usually somebody within the charter. District approvers have 3 business days to make the decision of whether that course is going to be accepted or rejected. And if no action is taken on their part, USBE will accept the course on their behalf. We won't accept it if a counselor has marked reject, though. The other thing that happens is when a student registers, an email goes to the online school, alerting them that a student has registered for a class with them and allowing them to look over the application and accept it if the school has also accepted it. Oh, okay. Thank you, Lindsay. Yes, I would love to address that. All right. How do we record the classes in our SIS? We at USBE have created some generic course codes and Cactus ID codes that you can use in your student information system as a placeholder for these classes. I found as I've been out at districts that some districts have developed their own way of recording courses in the SIS. So if you have a way that your school does it, you can ignore all these codes. But if you do need these, they're here and they're also on the counselor website, so you can find them. And this is a good, yes, Mindy, I can send the slides afterwards. This is a good opportunity for me to give you a very quick rundown about the 6 online programs we work with. All 6 programs are accredited through Cognia. All of the teachers are licensed and endorsed. All of the courses teach Utah standards, but they all are a little bit different. The first one at the top is ASU Prep Digital, powered by JUAB. They mostly serve private school students, so you probably won't work with them very much. The next one, Davis Connect, and also at the top of the other column, Canyons District, both of their programs work on a rolling enrollment. And that means that students can start a class any day, like October 2nd, if they want to start a class, they can. And they can also start any quarter of the class at any day. So if you have a student who needs quarter 4 of math, but it's September, they can enroll in one of those schools and do that at that time. Down at the bottom, we have Utah Online. They are the biggest online school in the state by far, and also the biggest SOEP provider, which also sometimes means that they have some things slip through the cracks. But they serve a lot of students, thousands of students across the state, and in a lot of rural districts independent of the SOEP. They work on a semester system, but students can take the opposite semester class, like a semester 2 class can be taken during semester 1, but they do follow a set start date and end date. Over on the right, Mountain Heights Academy is a charter school. They run on a quarter system and they only offer the quarter when it's happening, only quarter 1 during quarter 1. They're unique because their teachers write their own curriculum, and so they have a little bit more personal touch than some of the other schools. And the last one at the bottom is Utah Virtual. They're a K-12 stride school. If you're familiar with that, it's a national organization, but they run as a charter school here in Utah. Just looking over at the chat, yep, Holly's recording, and then Robin asks, is Leadership Academy of Utah still a part of SOEP? It is not. Nope, only these 6 are part of the program right now. Okay, how do we check a student's progress? So until that dashboard is developed, the best thing that we can do is reach out to the online school for updates. Many of the online schools can add a counselor's email in as a second guardian, so you receive all the communication that a parent would, but that means you receive all the communication that a parent would, and so it ends up being a lot. You can reach out independently to ask for an update. You can also ask the student or parent to give you an update. That dashboard is in the works, and hopefully that will give you that snapshot view without having to call anybody or ask anybody. The online schools have 30 days from the end of the course to send transcripts out to both your school and to the student's family. Sometimes they'll send an unofficial transcript a little bit faster than that. But if you're finding that you don't have the transcripts you need, you're welcome to contact my office and we can help you with that. Sometimes when students go between a middle school and a high school, they get sent to the wrong place, or if they switch schools within the district, transcripts get sent in the wrong place. One of the questions we get a lot is about over-enrollment, and that's when a student takes more than the amount of classes that is on a normal school schedule. And a lot of times this happens if students take classes over the summer through our program. Summer classes are always recorded on the fall schedule. So if a student is already taking a full load of classes in the fall, but then they took classes over the summer, that means they're actually over-enrolled. That needs to be indicated both in seats and in your student information system by marking the early graduation box. This is one of the things I've discovered as I've been around in different districts, because we all use a different SIS. Some schools know exactly where that box is and how to mark it, and some schools have not found it yet in their system. That's something you're going to want to have marked, because that is how the funding is distributed to your program for a student taking more classes. And I also want to mention that early graduation tag It's just to indicate over enrollment. It does not mean that a student has to graduate early and leave the building early. They can still continue through their senior year. Last thing is small schools funding. If you're a school that has less than 1,000 students and teaches high school classes, you qualify for small school funding, which means that the legislature will actually pay all of the fees associated with any classes that students take through this program, and no money will come out of your school in particular. We check that and June 30th count every year. So if you're interested, if you think one of your schools is a small school and you want to check, feel free to email me and I can follow up on that. And Elizabeth put, that's confusing. They're not early grads. We have to mark them as early grads. It is confusing. And the only explanation that I know is that that early graduation box is what allows a student to take more classes in a semester than they normally would. But legally, they do not have to leave the school early. That's all I can say. I know it's confusing. I wish they'd just name it something different. That'd be nice. Yeah, Julia, I went over HB 247 at the beginning, but I can talk about that again really quickly. So I can go back to my slide too. The big changes were that we reduced down from 9 business days to 3 business days to help approval of courses, mandated training, which you're doing right now, dashboard development to make a better dashboard for communication, refined process for moving those IEPs and 504s. We were able to hire 2 more specialists, and we're in the middle of studying adding concurrent enrollment courses through the SOEP. Yep. So Kristen asked about funding for early grads. I don't actually, I mean, that's something at your district level, so I don't really know for sure. But I know that like if your school does 8 classes in a semester and a student takes a 9th class, then it's like an 1/8 of funding is added on. So it's 1 1/8 for that student instead of just the 1 FTE. I think it was at the last slide anyway, which was going to be to ask questions. So what other questions do we have? Oh, actually, these are the 2 new counselors, the 2 new SOEP staff that we hired, and they're going to be going around the state as doing training just like I am right now. So hopefully you'll see Keisha and Cynthia out in the field. What other questions? Is the district at a disadvantage if students or early grads are allowed? I don't know how to answer that question. I don't think it's a disadvantage for a district to have early grads, but I'm not sure. That's kind of out of the scope of my job. I think that would be something to ask your district. So Elizabeth asked, so basically we aren't supposed to reject a course if they don't have a matching parent release. We just mark them early grad, even if they aren't. We don't advise students then that they have to have a matching release. That sounds like a policy at your school. I'm not sure about the parent release piece. I do know that if a student has a release in their schedule for whatever reason, that the SOEP class replaces that before it goes to over enrollment. So you always want to fill in any gaps first. What other questions can I answer?
Jill, can you address the question that I posed to you in the email a couple of weeks ago about how many credits can they deny or accept? All of those type of things.
Yeah, you're gonna have to remind me what your question was.
Sorry, it was that can a school district say that they have to take so many courses in person versus SOEP and that type of policy?
Yes. Okay. So no, a school district cannot put a cap on how many how many classes a student has to take in person or online. The law says that students can take 6 classes through SOEP no matter what. And then they can also appeal to take all 8 classes, their full class load. And if they appeal, then that would be the counselor at the school and would it be the one that would be able to approve that. We actually have a process that we're putting in place in the next couple of weeks here to help catch any students that are registering for all 8 classes to make sure that their counselor has had the opportunity to say that that's okay, just because that's the way it's outlined in law. So students can take 6 credits no matter what through SOEP, and then they can take all 8 if they appeal through their school and the school says yes. A school can't put a cap on that. That's the code. What other questions can I answer?
There was one in the chat about a district reviewer. What possible reasons would I reject a course?
Thank you. I have a list of those reasons in my primary approver course. I wonder if I can remember them off the top of my head. It almost always has to do with whether it matches their schedule or not. Let me just pull up my list really quick. It's not as many reasons as you'd think. I had to change one of my monitors the other day and I cannot keep moving things the wrong way and it's confusing me. While I'm getting this open, the next one is what's the funding formula for SOEP? For example, every student takes courses through SOEP, how much WPU is taken away? So we actually did a study in this last year about the funding model, and it involved a bunch of business administrators and USBE and the accountants that help transfer all the money. And I can't tell you like the exact dollar amount, but it was determined that the dollar amounts that are outlined in law as the amount that courses cost is actually pretty close to how much it costs for that student to take the class in person as well. So it's pretty much the same money. The other thing that is tied up in that funding formula question that we get a lot is if a student took all of 8 of their classes through SOEP, they're still a student of the in-person school. What happens with funding? And we found that even if they take all 8 classes, the in-person school retains almost half of that student's funding still. So it really is an advantage to the in-person school for that student to remain enrolled because you're seeing what they're doing as a counselor. They have the opportunity to participate in their sports and activities in their local community, and funding is staying at the school. Okay, here are your reasons that you can accept or reject as a primary approver. If the student doesn't meet the course prerequisites, if the course isn't open for enrollment, which is kind of obvious, if the course doesn't align with their college or career path. Also, if they leave your school, if they're not at your school anymore, you can reject it. And if they're trying to take more than 6 credits and your school hasn't approved that, it can also be rejected. Okay, let me catch up now. Oh, and Lindsay, back to finish your question, is it an 8th? Each course is different in the amount that is outlined in law of how much it costs. Core classes are more expensive than elective classes, so it's not like a straight across formula. But I could find those numbers if you really want them. When you email me later, I can send you the numbers if you want.
Does that breakdown go to the BA every fiscal year? I'm just curious, like how much are we sending out each year for SOEP courses?
Yeah, that's a good question. So currently some districts request a financial statement every month so that they can have eyes on that. I mean, they would see it from their end as well, but we can also generate a report so that we can just make sure everybody's seeing the same amount. I don't know the list because I'm not the fiscal analyst, but we do have somebody in our office that's what she does all the time is send out reports. And so if you want that report or you want to see the dollar amount, we can look that up. The next question is, can a charter school put a cap on how many courses a student can take? Nope, a charter school is under the same policies as a district school. Dara asked, I missed it, are they NCAA approved? They are NCAA approved classes, yes. If a student takes all 8 classes with Utah Online, wouldn't they just enroll full-time with Utah Online? That's a great question. So I kind of outlined that for a second, but let's talk about why they may or may not do it that way. If a student stays at Wasatch High School, but they take all their classes through SOEP, they still get to participate in Wasatch High School activities and sports and be part of the community. And also almost half of their funding stays at Wasatch High School. Whereas if they unenroll and become a full-time Utah Online student, then they're a full-time online student. Online schools don't have sports, and some of them have some in-person activities if you live close, but Utah Online is down in St. George. So it would be a completely different high school experience. So that's why students will stay. And then Dara, the follow-up question with that, if the student is staying at Wasatch High School but taking all their classes at Utah Online, then their diploma comes from Wasatch High School. If they leave Wasatch High School and fully enroll in Utah Online, then their diploma would be at Utah Online. Mindy, her name is Winona in my office for that financial report. If you go to the QR code that's up right now, we'll take you to our website and her contact information is there, but you're also welcome to contact me and I can direct your question to her. Okay, what other questions? I think I got through all the ones in the chat. It's a
Jill,
complicated program.
I'm still unclear. Parent release, over enrolled, and early grad. What I'm hearing now is basically you can check a student as an early grad and they can be over enrolled even though they're not technically an early grad.
Yes. This was before I started working here, but one of my coworkers got the Attorney General at the time wrote a letter that confirmed that a student can take more classes than is required for graduation and not be forced to graduate early. So it's not really even an SOEP thing. It's an enrollment thing that's independent from our program. We just run into it a lot because kids take a lot of extra classes with us. And then the parent release part, any release in a schedule, if a student is taking classes through SOEP, that's the slot that should be filled in their schedule before they reach over enrollment. I hope that helped. I don't know.
Jill, I have a question. Now,
Okay.
is there a place on the application or the seats or on the form that when you accept or reject for the free or reduced school lunch? Because I've never seen that.
No.
How do we advise you that there is? I mean, we'll check it out every time that there's an application, but how do we let you know?
Good question. I think there might be a fee waiver box. It doesn't say free and reduced, but I think it says fee waiver.
Okay. All right. I'll look for that. Okay.
I'd love to pull it up quick, but Seats is very slow to load,
No,
and so I won't get to it
okay.
fast.
I'll just look for it. I didn't know about that. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't come up that often.
I saw that box.
Let's see, what else we want? Does there need to be an SOEP placeholder on SIS for each course a student takes? Yes, there should be a placeholder for each class that a student takes in the SIS, and then it can be, the correct information can be inputted when you get the transcript. And then Mindy asked, how are we supposed to track credits taken over the summer? That's a great question. And you'll receive a transcript in the fall of the classes that students took. The biggest hiccup in the summer is if a student registers for an SOEP class when the office is closed and you're not working, which happens a lot, then you might not see that they have signed up for that class until you come back in the fall. And I don't have a good answer for it because it's your summer and you shouldn't be working, but students are still going to register in the middle of summer because they don't think about it until the last minute. I've always been told by my superiors to say that they should register in the spring when they register for their other classes, which is a great, it's a great vision, but we know students sometimes in July, all of a sudden will be like, oh, I want to take this class. And then we just have to kind of clean it up when we get back in the fall. How do you get funded for the summer courses because they aren't tracked? I don't know the answer to that. How do you get funded for the summer courses? I mean, you don't get funded, the online school gets funded. I don't know. I'm not sure beyond that. I have to think about that. I don't know the answer. I'm sorry. The money moves out of your school to the online school just like it would during the school year. Yeah, I know. I agree, Dara. Students they're flippant. They make decisions. I've been trying to explain that on the other end because they withdraw from online classes too. They'll say, oh, I want to take these classes online, and then a weekend be like, nah, I changed my mind. And it's hard to track that versus if a student is not successful in the class because of like the quality of the course. So that is something that's a struggle in online education for sure. What other questions can I answer? Yes, Sunny, in middle school, you should update transcripts as well. Middle school students can now take high school classes for high school credit. They've always been able to do that through SOEP, but now statewide, any student in middle school can take a high school class for high school credit. There's some stipulations around that, like they can't replace a middle school class and a few other things, but it's important that if they do take a high school class in middle school, that follows them on their high school transcript. That's a good question. I would think that would be a district level decision because I don't know if your middle school transcripts go anywhere outside of middle school. But if your high school counselors are using the middle school transcripts to help create freshman schedules, then you'll want to make sure all classes are represented there. Of course.
And don't they have to claim at the time of taking it that they are doing it for high school credit? It's not like they
Yes.
can go back later and say, oh, I took that course in 7th grade and now I want to count it as high school
Yes.
credit.
Yeah. And it has to be the high school cactus code and everything. Yep. I assume most SOEP courses would meet the grade replacement requirements. They should, yeah. All SOEP courses are original credit full-length courses. None of them are reduced courses for credit recovery. They're all full-length courses, so they should match for grade replacement. Yes, I can show that slide again. And it's also on our website too. If I can find my mouse. Oh, there it was. All right. Well, hopefully you jotted down my information. Please feel free to reach out with questions. It's a complicated program, and the students that take advantage of it often come from really unique situations. And so there's not a one size fits all here. And that's what we're here for, is to help you navigate all of this. So please just let us know. Great. And also make sure to turn in the Google form so I can get you your licensure hour.
Thank you, Jill, for being
Of
willing to do
course.
this for us.
Yeah.
And as I mentioned, I will, once this is downloaded, and I get the slides from Jill, I will post it on our website on the NUES. I will also email it, the link out to all of my people that I have email lists for, and so that you can get it that way as well. But if you have any questions, send them on to Jill and she'll be able to help.
Great. Thank you.